Hey guys, here we are at the 12th touchdown, right, of the Wealth Transfer Initiative. We have a lot of things to talk as usually. Today, the thematic is making wormholes between our endeavors or between our projects or between our initiatives. And we're going to start to make wormholes via Discord, right? Or via the main endeavors that we are related. Like TB is related to Sensorica, me and Atos are related to Utopia, or I'm related to Taudao and Atos too. Yes. And TB will be in short notice, but we decided in the last sync, and Natus was with us in the last sync, to bridge wormholes between things. So we were just chatting here before we recording about doing this in a very fun way or in a very lucid way. And Atus was just unpacking, was just sharing how he envisions to do this via game, via the game sphere, let's say. So Atos, feel free, man, to just share and just people understand that this fresh perspective that you are bringing into the arena here. So
Okay, hello everybody. I was looking for some gaming experience to improve user experience of network and cultural imprint of this utopia, our utopian dream, and I always feel like that's very interesting. Put gaming in this perspective and farming games. I always love this kind of farming games. You plant something and you have to put water and wait it grows. And then I found some very interesting game uh, called Third World Farmer, and the object it's to a thought-provoking simulation. It's kind of simulates a farming game, but in a third world with very difficult environments, And I thought it was genius because you have to buy your crops and you plant, and then the interesting part is when things start to happen, when 1 year pass and 2 years pass, things social things can happen, and and this interfere in your production, in everything. So I will try to pick a demonstration of this one. I thought it was very interesting because yes, last night I was trying this one, and I cropped some corn, and and then it happened that what happened in the next year, it was a social disease or social difficult that make things not happen good. Poor weather conditions this year kill all of your cornfields. So every year you're seeing uh, environment and social things interfering in your production, in everything. And wow, it's unexpected. It's unexpected. We can try a little bit later. My computer is very
well,
not,
for
not speeding well right now.
just to well, let me see if I can. I didn't. Of course, I have to better understand the game, but I get. I think that I got the gist of it because I saw so many games that are similar, right? And with this framing, but the thing that it got me first, as you said, the name of the game, Third World Farmer, well, was the framing itself, right? Because this concept of first world, second world, and third world status is a post Second World War framing, right? We really didn't have this division of worlds, let's say. What is the concept of what is first world, the concept of what is second, what is third? This came after the Second World War, right? And it came in a type of hierarchy where the first world is the more industrialized, uh, first world is the more technological, the first world is where everything is aiming for. So and we know that isn't that was just only a metaphor that became a macro narrative, right? Like something that the worldwide nation states that are enlisted in the UN, uh, they they really reinforce this type of narrative, macro narrative, like it was reality. So the first thing that came from me was, wow, yeah, okay, because actually what we are living is that all the worlds, all this concept of division of worlds is already collapsing, has been collapsing from a number of decades. Uh, and in that sense, uh, the difficulties that let's say a third world farmer uh, may have is far more less than the first world farmer. Why? Because the terrain and the soil of first world, let's say, nations or state-centric nations, they really pollute. They really pollute the soil. They really put a lot of chemicals. They don't have spaces. They don't have space on the land to do nothing that a third world farmer has. So it's interesting. This is just pop up in my mind as soon as you share the screen and show the game. And I was thinking here, wow, yeah, it's a great exercise to get in a simulation type. You have a more understanding how nature deals with all these variants, how nature defies you, right? Challenges you to how you can form things and in a harsh setup, let's say. But the reality is that we're only playing in the rational and in the simulated realm here, and you don't have the type of endurance, you don't have the type of adherence and contextualization that is actually making that happen with the soil, because I think that even if this game has a lot of, let's say, uh, challenges and obstacles and very various points that you have to rationally, let's say, plan and look for, nature defies that. Nature challenges that even in a greater scheme of things, because everything is already integrated, interdependent, and everything is very biodynamical. So, but it still is interesting because we lost completely we severed and lost completely the connection with nature's complexity. Even if we feel the consequences of the severing, right, of this loss of connection, where we feel in the sense that we don't we feel in an urban site, in an urban city, in the urban landscape, we feel such oftenly we feel meaningless, like things don't have too much meaning, right? Because always all things are related to consumerism, or all things are related to, let's say, you earn money to pay the bills, or all things are related to your strict and very closed source bubbles of family, of friends, and where are the stations of the year? Where are the how is the where how climate, or even at night when we don't have the complete darkness because the city is very illuminated, where is the skies, right? Where are the stars? Where are the moon? And one of the things that you said in Sin City is the pollution. So coming to the original thing that I was trying to unveil here is that you have even more difficulties, even more challenges to form anything in this concept of first, second, and third world that UN crafted after the Second World War, then let's say a third world farmer would have, because he will still have land and soil to farm, right? And that's the thing that came up for me immediately as soon as you shared your screen, my
I
friend.
see. Yeah, well, about this game, the most interesting thing that I found it's like this. It's not rare. It's not unusual. You notice you have in this situation. I'm -9 money, and this I can do anything. Game's over for me. You know, I cannot plant because I don't have money, and you know, and it's not rare. I have to restart it and start it over, and maybe I can crop some things here, corn and cotton, but eventually some social or weather changes will impact in my balance in everything here, and it's not rare to to be in this situation without gaming over. I have not money. I have no money to do anything else, and it's kind of uh, call our attention for it. It's the game is it's just playing with us, but making us think about this social and this climate changes, and especially social thing changes. And I think it's very interesting to think about it.
Yeah, totally, Atos. You see, I'm not diminishing the proposal, right? I'm just
Yeah,
I'm being very, not so
that's it.
critical. I'm being critical of it because of the name of the game, Third World Farmer. I don't
Yeah.
know if Chibi is already connected his audio. I don't know if Chibi has heard all of the rant that I just made, but it would be nice if he heard, if he would have similar, let's say, opinion
I'm
of.
listening. I'm listening. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
there's
What do you think, man? What do you think about the third world farmer gaming that Atos just shared with us? And by the way, be very welcome, man, as
Yes.
usual.
Thank you. Well, I don't know because I didn't listen from the beginning. I only listened to what you were saying about the city. So I didn't grasp the concept.
Yeah,
So much.
Atos, could you share again, please, the screen with the game? Would be nice. The game, Chibi, is called Third World Farmer, right? And it frames it relies on this conception of the division of worlds that happened post Second World War, right? First world, second world, third world. And for me, this doesn't this just don't have any kind of sense and meaning nowadays, especially in this collapse times that we're living in. And I was just saying to please, Atos, play the game. It would be nice if we, yeah.
Is that a real game? Like a game people can play on the computer, or?
Yeah, that's a real game. And you have all the flags there.
Mm.
And the thing is that I was critiquing the framing of the word of the game. third world farmer and saying that this framing of first world, second world, third world was a post Second World War framing, and
Okay.
it was related to degrees of development, right? And where the third world aims to be the second aims to be the first, and the first is the very industrialized one, very technological one, and is the
Yeah.
more fucked up one, right? So, and I was just making this critique, not intending to sever the enthusiasm that Atos shared with us this, and but just to make a critique how it's very interesting because you have a lot of preconcept things here, like livestock, like crops, like money, like earnings. You have all the setup of the game is in the actual framework that we already know that is not working, right? And let's say it's a simulation, of course. It's a I don't know, it's a very poor or very rich simulation, but as Atos was sharing, it's like it's an economic, let's say, a simulation of economic endeavor of how you would farm in a third world conditions, right? Constraints and conditions. And I was critiquing that it's more harsh, it's more hard to do any farming in first world because the soil is depleted and everything is polluted, and you don't have terrain to do this. And the very concept of farming in, let's say, what we call first world countries or nation states is a challenge per se. It would be more easy to do this in the concept of a third world, one that has nature, still has soil to sour. And I was just talking in that perspective with Atos, and but I was not diminishing the let's say the lucid aspects of the game, just the framing of it. So that was I was talking. TV.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Because you see what I'm saying is that the framing here is a very conventional one, right? It's not a commons framing, let's say, like you have nowadays commons poly, right? You have a game called not Monopoly, but you have Commons Poly. But here's more a Monopoly approach than a Commons Poly approach. So
Hmm.
this is another
Yeah,
way to look at it, right? And is training, is rationally training, uh, because it's a simulation, but it's rationally training your mind to become better in this type of game, right? In this type of framing that is proposed. So my critique is, wow, this is good if you play the game with critique, with lucid critique, with awareness that is a simulation of something that actually is detached from the realities that we're living in, and is not let's say is not really the way to generate wealth. We're talking here about wealth, right? So
Hmm.
that was my critique. But okay, man, it's not for you to make a statement about it. Just I was talking with Atos about this.
yeah, just just chatting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yesterday we had this fifth OCAST experience, and I don't know if TB had the time to let's say metabolize it
Hmm.
or have a better sense of how this experience was really rich and what he thought that would sense that was was really interesting for him, for you, my friend, and because you see all the things, all the things about this proposal, this Soulcast experience proposal, is to be something very ludic and lucid, and something very uncanny, and to explore in a very fresh configuration thematics and things that we usually don't explore in our daily basis, or because we don't have the time, or because we're more captured by our own biases and captured by our own interests, but the things that we want to do on a daily basis. So, and of course, and to expose, to share, right? What people related to this so-called regenerative movement or so-called peer-to-peer movement are have been thinking about the movement itself and the relation between them. So if you, I don't know, because you're certainly having your cup of coffee or cup of coffee or cup of tea now. So I don't know
Not
if
yet.
yes, yes, if you want to share some thoughts, or if you're not feeling, let's say, uh, it's not quite the place now to share some thoughts about it because you didn't have the time to metabolize anything. So
Well, no, it's I felt better in this experience than the others because I'm getting used to the format, and I was not so much in the spotlight, so was a pretty nice experience to see it from the second row. You know what I'm saying? Um, Not being in the first row. So that was pretty good. I think we covered a lot of ground, and I'm happy with how things emerged in the discussion and the connections that were made, which shows that the chemistry works. You know, if the right ingredients are there, the chemistry works. So we can actually build something. You know, I mean, I didn't feel that was a discussion that everybody was making their own point and that's it. Was more a sort of a co-creation than a presentation of point of views, you know.
but I think that's the original intent, right? That's the original
Yeah,
intent, to be a beer thing production experience, right? Where you put all the ingredients, but you don't know if it's going to come up. We really want to have a beer to drink
yeah,
afterwards, and things can go anyways, and have any type of adherence, and that's that's the thrilling part of it. So I'm not saying that I'm being addicted to do this, but is that I think is that the term to use, but it's very exciting, and it impels you to have more experiences like that, right? So uh, I'm sharing this TV, but I don't know if is how you're feeling this, and I don't have a clue if Mason felt that way too, or even Sam felt, but even the others, because at this point we had a lot of people that had this experience, and not all of them really opened themselves to have another until now, right? But this is we are still in a very embryonic stage of it. So, because I see it as a type of social peer-to-peer technology, right? And capable of weaving folks around the regen movement and the peer-to-peer movements in a very non-pretentious way, in a very intentional way. not a pretentious way. So that would be my take.
But I was thinking about reproduction. It's not an easy format so that people can reproduce it. They have to live it a few times in order to be able to reproduce it themselves. You know what I'm saying? It's not so simple. So I was yesterday after that, I was thinking like, yeah, would can people reproduce the recipe and have this like spread so they do it on their own independently,
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
No,
I think
it's not.
it needs some guidance, like TED and TEDx, for
Yeah,
TEDx to.
yeah, TEDx, like TEDx. I know what you're saying, but TEDx is a very conference
Yeah, no,
centralized.
but
Yeah,
the sort of the mechanism of spread, it's very complex. To have a TEDx done, it's extremely complex, and the presentations are coached and all that, but the way it's spread is through a mechanism of federation, and there's some guidelines, and the TEDx organizers are coached by the TED organizers, and there's a sort of a mechanism through which it spreads. It's much more complex than a WooCast, but you can
yeah,
scale that down and design a mechanism of spread of passing the knowledge to other people, coaching.
but I think that you see when you have let's say a proposal that has a high complexity. It could be in the engineering aspect of it. It could be in a project management aspect of it. It could be even in the human side of it, but to let's say adhere for the main proposal or the main let's say goals of it. Uh, you need a sort of let's say it's interesting because when we talk about federation, we think a very decentralized scheme, right? But the sort of federation that TED does with TEDx is very centered because it's very controlled, because it has a type of quality control. Uh, and you to become one federate entity in the DEX, let's say, realm ecosystem, you need to adhere to norms, to policies, to regulations, to quality. So it's not open source friendly, right? It's very closed source in this sense. So and it's interesting to see how this has more adherence with social realities all over the world, right? And how people get it, and people feels uh, feels attracted to it, right? In that sense, I would say that the way that TED and TEDx does it, TED does with TEDx, uh, is more related to the actual status quo of what we're, we're being as societies, the ethos of our being as society is not very, and it's not disruptive. And in that sense, I would say even that when folks adhere with the proposal to be a federated entity in the TED scheme, right, the TED framework, uh, with the illusion that they are aggregating, changing ideas to be spread, right? Changing ideas for the actual reality that we live in is the opposite. It occurs the opposite. You just reinforce the actual status quo, like the starting point to change things, and that's not that's not the thing, right? So in this sense, uh, OCAST is more challenging, even it's not more complex. I don't know if you got me in my perspective here, Chidi.
Yeah, totally understand. But there are some elements. I think we do need some quality control. and we do need some to develop some skills in people. So there is some sort of maybe pairing required so that know-how and knowledge gets transferred, and some type of, I don't know, some type of reputation system or badge that for people to recognize those that are experienced and can pass down the knowledge. It's not something very natural. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't just come to everybody because there is the format. You know, people are always trying to remember. So what is the host? What is the co-host? And what is, you know?
But you see, the thing to be not to be felt as natural is because we detach from nature's complexity, right? Especially that in that concept of first, second, and third world, right? Especially if you are living, let's say, what is called as this macro narrative of the first world, because everything in the first, the called very industrial, very technological first world, everything is very broadcaster, everything is very conference, made in a conference mindset, is in a very centralized, let's say, authoritative driver and manner, and you only people only only people only hear you if you are authority or if you have any type of
Yeah.
centrality, and that's not how things happen in nature, right? So if we're talking here about making a shift, a move to a decentralized pattern of organization to a distributed one like nature is, in a mode of regulation that flirts with horizontal dynamics, peer-to-peer dynamics, and even with transitional peer-to-peer dynamics is even more radical, let's say, to because it's a more, when we say transitional modes of regulation, we're talking about the network effect, right? We're talking about something that is very networked, very very peer-to-peer, very distributed. So you don't have any centralized authority, you don't have any type of, of, of you have, of course, you have some emergence phenomenon, like you form some hubs here and some hubs there, some clustering here, some shoaling there, right? You have this type of emergence phenomenon that it occurs because of the interaction, right, between the peers, between all the things around. So that occurs. So when it was fought about the OCAS proposal, is fought was the initial thought was, wow, could we do this with folks that are very captured by this hierarchical, very centralized, very authoritarian mindset, where you really have to first you have to be something that is attractive for people. You have to have a brand concept behind, right? You have to have the communication of this brand concept behind, like TED has, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have, so people feel attracted by it. So, oh man, that's great, I want to be part of it, I want to spread my ideas through that
Yeah.
framework of spreading ideas, right? And I was thinking about this. Of course, I was not thinking alone. I was thinking with Florian. I was thinking with the folks with Utopia at the time, not only Utopia. And I think, wow, let's do the move, but not captured by this type of frame, right? Let's see if folks are, let's say, even minimally interested to open themselves to, oh, that I'll take a shot. Let's see what is happening there. Let's make this. Let's try to see if this is something interesting. And well, it's very it's we're not in you see in time and space. This is only the fifth OCAST experience, right, TB? So
Mm.
we don't have, let's say, the data. We don't have the time and the space to make any assumptions if the thing is going or not going, right? The thing is not is spreading because we're in the very early stages of it, right? Like
Yeah.
we're nurturing it. So it's a cultural move, right? It is a cultural move towards the decentralization uh, pattern of organization, right? To this type of framework. And so it's something that is always ongoing, is always in the beta phase, in beta mode or beta phase, let's say. Uh, well,
And you don't like structure, so
yeah.
and yeah.
That's see, that's the thing. I wouldn't be here speaking with you and Atus if it was the structure of the chair that I'm sitting on, right? Or the table that I put this note on, right? So that's what I'm saying is that I'm not against the structure, right? I'm not against
Mhm.
structure. What I'm saying is that we certainly have we certainly are hinting new forms and new ways to structure things that is not in the way that we have been doing for ages, right? And I say that because we reach in a very exhausted point of not because everything that we want to continue to structure is just one more structure that uh, doesn't add future for our presence, doesn't add doesn't add any type of meaningful way to generate wealth, right? Only to degenerate wealth. It's quite the opposite, only to degenerate wealth. So that's the point about the OCAS. I know that this is it wasn't the intention behind the OCAS proposal, but I know that this becomes very, let's say, sophisticated to understand in an intellectual manner. But once you open yourself, right, open and access, right, interaction, open yourself to do this movement, to do this move, it becomes more easier to let it flow.
Yeah, we probably derailed the discussion on wealth. Is Atus? What's his name?
Yes, Atus
Okay.
Linhares.
Atos,
Did
yeah,
we
me.
did we meet before or?
No, it's the first time you guys are together. So Atus,
Oh, okay.
if you can open your webcam and just to see the
Yeah,
your
I'm
Greek
here.
your Greek your Greek
I'm here.
face.
Yes, yes, yes. Hi.
Brazilian face.
Yeah, but is quite the Greek aesthetics, right? So
Okay. Yes.
yes.
Hello, Tiberius. Nice to meet you.
Hi. Yes, yes. I should put my camera on too. But
No, no problem. No
I work
problem.
late and sometimes I just wake up and
Yeah, me too.
I connect before I even take my coffee. I do have my coffee now. Uh, just a second.
That's the nice thing about TV. I love this spontaneity. This is something that Brazilians used to, because what we called, what I mean is what we called this thing about you being, let's say, a Canadian and me and Atos being Brazilian, but well, actually, I don't see this way, right? We're just earthlings. But of course, when we add this national state thing, you add flavor for it, right? Culture flavors, right? Language flavors. And as we're speaking today, the OCAS experience was nice when we're talking about language as a code, right? And a code that encaptures encaptures culture, encaptures cosmogony, encaptures worldviews, right? So it's interesting, it's paradoxical and interesting, but actually, on a daily basis, when people talk to me, I don't identify myself as a Brazilian, right? So I identify myself as an earthling. So that's for me. But of course, I appreciate the aspects of being, let's say, Brazilian or this type of identity where I can share with TB that is not that doesn't have this experience. Me and Atos, for instance, what is to be a Brazilian. He from the south of Brazil and me from the Middle West. So it's already different, right? He has perspectives that I don't have. So this makes the conversation and interaction even more interesting. But it's paradoxical because that encapsulates us in this this type of framing of reality, right? Oh, I feel the world as a Brazilian or as a carioca, and I to see the world as a Brazilian or from I don't know Porto Alegre, or yes. So that it's interesting, man, how this is very paradoxical, right? This is very paradoxical because it's interesting to feel the flavors of all the things that Chibi knows about the culture that he's embedded in, right, as a Canadian, or was a more French Canadian, a more English Canadian, I don't know, or French and Indian Canadian. I don't know. There are a lot of flavors, and it makes the chat more interesting. It makes the chat, of course, but man, because this type of framing and mentality and mindset leads us to war, right? Lead us to war between nation states, lead us to boundaries and territories. This territory thing, man, this very territorial thing that makes us very tribalists, very war-making beings, right? So, or mimetic war-making beings, right? Oh, my tribe is there. Oh, that's such a suck. It sucks a lot. So, uh, so we're in this paradoxical realm, right? Where we cheer when all the experience related to be Brazilian, to be carioca, and and oh, forgive myself, I couldn't contain, but uh, I couldn't contain myself. But this is a critical point for me because I think that we have to transcend without losing these very interesting and different ingredients that made the complex being that we are, right? And this is related to health and wealth too. So here we are. And forgive me, Atus, I just made a huge rant about something that we're not supposed to talk about. We're always touching that in some sense in this touchdowns of the wealth transfer initiative. So, man, please share a little bit more about you because I know TB a little bit. I know that he's curious and he's very curious. And go on. And you're muted, TB. You're muted, man.
Yes, yeah, I would like to hear more and about Atus and what brings him to this topic of wealth transfer.
Yeah, to me, well, I was born as a musician, but I became a developer
Okay.
in my journey, you know, and that's it. I always love art and human expression, and developing it's a way to that I can create things. I can create things and I think good things to contribute with communities and to the environment, you know.
Mhm.
And wealth transfer came to me about with this Discord community. Vinicius shared with us this wealth transfer channel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And well, the purpose called my attention. You know, all these communities. As I see all these communities, there's a lot of people making making regenerative actions and movements. And it seems to me that we just have to connect these nodes. You know, there's a lot of people making good things in the world, but it seems not connected each other. So it's a decentralized way, these algorithms in the internet. And I think this community sense of digital communities, you know, connect these communities together with digital platforms. We already have this technology to connect all these communities and all these people in the decentralized way. And this works as well for wealth transfer and product transfer and information transfer. And you know, I think everything is connected, and that's why I started to be here to know more about what we're talking about, this wealth transfer, you know, what it means, this wealth transfer, and how we can in fact put in service to communities, you know. That's my purpose, and that's why I'm here talking and brainstorming with you.
Nice. We do have a project that is very related to the topic of wealth and how it transmutates and new wealth that is created, and artists. And I could just bring it up briefly, and offline we could talk about it. But was not my idea. It was somebody from New York that works with artists that brought it within Sensorica. And the idea here is to find an economic model that we can implement today, even within capitalism, so that an economic model that does not consider art, and here we talk about material artifacts, paintings or sculptures. Okay, we're not talking about digital art, but material artifacts, stuff that you can hang somewhere in a space. So an economic model that does not consider these material artistic artifacts as commodities, because the model through which an artist can thrive is capitalistic, meaning you make a painting and you put it on the market, so it becomes a commodity, right? And you apply the private property to it. So I own it, I'm the artist, and then I can sell it, you know, to somebody else in an auction, let's say, or in an art gallery. Okay, and then it becomes the property of the other person, and there is a transaction. They give me money, so I sell my art. Okay, so by default we apply the capitalistic model to art. Okay, and then artists create art as commodities. Art becomes a commodity. So we proposed a way for artists to sustain themselves within capitalism, you know, to get enough money to buy food and for the family and everything else, but does not consider art as a commodity. Okay, and and it rather considers art as a public good, you know. And so through this model, art is always in the eyes of the public, rather than being bought and stored in a basement as a store of values, and so that, you know, there's a lot of, how do I say, there's a lot of people that are washing money through this mechanism, or they're storing their wealth into art paintings, and they sell it later. It's also a way to transport funds from one country to another. You know, I buy a painting there and I sell it here. And so I don't go with a suitcase of money to be questioned, you know. And also I wanted to mention another perversion of art through capitalism, but slipped out of my mind. Anyway, so the idea here is to have an economic system where art is does what is meant to do. It's to be seen and appreciated by people, and it's always in the eyes of the people, never hidden, because there is no incentive in this economic system to hide it. So
This
yeah.
model, you already have this model. This already exists.
Well, we have it on paper, and we believe it works. We have made some steps to implement it. We work with a group of artists here in Montreal that engage in a similar kind of activity, but not quite. For this to work, it requires some technology, and we also did some dating with a company that is pretty advanced technologically, and they're working on something called HT. There's HTTPS and HT. Let's call it a protocol for space applications. Okay, HTTPS is a protocol for internet communication, and what they're working on is a protocol for space, meaning that if you have IoT sensors in the physical space, then you can digitize and create twins of that spatial physical space. And when you write an app dealing with data in the virtual space, you can now actually write an app that merges physical aspects and with the data in the virtual space. So you merge physical and virtual. Therefore, if you manipulate stuff in the physical space, it is automatically tracked by these apps, because of this protocol, because of this new technology, it's easy for you to write applications that merge both. So this company is named Versus, and we started to work with them on this project. And because it is a company with investors, at some point they were leaning towards developing a peer-to-peer but centralized infrastructure that they could control. And this is where we said that we're not very interested. The discussions, they just died out. But what they're doing, it's an example of very powerful technology that can enable this economic system. So to come back to the question and answer more simply, this economic model is on paper. Everything is there to make it happen, and we have the artists to experiment with, the artists that are willing to try that, and also an arts association that is willing to try that. But we still have to find some partners to put this together, and we have interacted with some, and the relationship didn't work because they were too minded on centralizing, even, like it's like sort of a private blockchain, if you will, where things are peer-to-peer but are centrally controlled in some way. And we're also We also approached the Canadian government for some funding, the Arts Council of Canada, and the people that I was talking to, they're extremely interested. Since then, they moved from that department. They're not there anymore, so I lost my contact with the Canadian government. And we still have a proposal, funding proposal sort of in the works. You know, so it's not a dead project. It's just
But Tibi,
yeah.
it's interesting what you just shared, man. I didn't know about this, and
Mhm.
there's similar projects, initiatives all over the planet running with that sort of infrastructure and that sort of take on it, talk, framing and framework. And one of them is I'm actually involved here in Brazil with artists too, with
Yeah.
artists. So
Mhm.
this is not something I could even share with you. We had the intent to run this on the threefold technological infrastructure that is
Yeah.
a Web3 infrastructure.
Yeah.
I can even share with you a banner that we made. Initially, we thought that we would do this via the threefold Web3 infrastructure, but it evolved, right? So
Yeah.
we're actually doing,
Well,
and
I will share with you the project that we're working on. You could share, yeah, for sure. We can do some exchange. Yeah, I think the relation here is that you know it's like art. It's not a commodity, and how can we, you know? But continue. Sorry, continue.
no, no, please, man, continue. I'm going just to share the banner, the infographic that I made
Oh yeah.
to explain this. Oh, here it is. Uh, it will certainly enrich our perspectives and our interaction here. So uh, let me see. I'm now opening here. Are you guys seeing something?
I'll disable my
It's kind of
camera for now.
yeah, yeah,
Save bandwidth.
Yeah, here you go.
yeah.
So this is the way that we were envisioning.
Mhm.
We were going to call the Misangari. Misangari means in English beads, right? Mainly because at least here in Brazil, artists used to sell uh, beads and collars and
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so we call it a type of beads, nested nested beads. Misangari means like a birthplace of beads, right?
Mhm.
And in the Brazilian Portuguese language. So what we have here is this. Let me see. Let's. I don't know if you folks are really seeing this. Uh,
Yes, I'm seeing it.
yes. So here it goes. Uh, we remember the concept of Taudal, the shared fund, TB?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we start with the share fund and fiat money, where is related to the folks that in impact investment space, folks
Mhm.
that understands that the actual model to invest is dated because it's it still relies on return on investment and things like that. So they use their idle wealth, the type of
Yeah.
what we are calling here idle wealth is that money that you would let's say you would rather invest this money in the financial market or in real estate or for rentals or things like that. But well, I'll not use the money for that. So I will simply put this money, let's say, openly free for people to access via this shared fund, the shared fund, to do this experiment, right? The experiment is the Misangario Lab, right?
Mhm.
The Misangario Decentralized Lab. Yeah. So folks put this idle wealth in terms of fiat money in the shared fund, like is happening actually with Taudao. and it's working, as you know. And in that sense, the artists, right, produce contents, and as they produce contents, they earn misangas, beats. They earn misangas, right? And this misangas, we were going to use the blockchain that Threefold is using, that is the digital byte blockchain. I don't know if they're still using. Atos can actually put me updated to this, but at the time we were thinking about this, we used the Digibyte blockchain for it. So as they produce the art goes in an IoT framework through the city for hardware boards, right? The art is digitalized and put in these boards.
Yeah.
As people look at the boards, look at the arts, and they like it, and they want to access, or even if they want to, let's say, but it's not to buy it, it's only to contemplate and only to like it. So as they contemplate and like the art, and says, wow, this type of art is really beautiful, it's really great, we have the proof of concept running through people's, let's say, eyes, right? So the proof of concept is you're looking at the art in a very IoT infrastructure through the city, and as the art is put it, the artist gains, he earns a bead, right? A misanga. Misanga is the crypto, is the cryptocurrency. How he earns this bead, and we have, in this case, in Misangario, this is the difference is that it's very hyper local and planetary wise too. So it's very global. What I mean, when we establish this hardware, the IoT hardware through the city, right? We establish with little business. We establish with restaurants. We establish with little shops. We establish with things that is already there, right? It's not a shopping mall, but is in the streets. So that little business, right? It can be anything, a grocery or things like that. So and a part of this beads goes to the owner of this establishment. So a part of it goes to the owner of the grocery, let's say. A part goes to the artist, right? The major part goes to the artist. A little part goes to the grocery owner, and and the artist can use these beads, these misangas, to trade for food at the grocery, right? So he can use it, and we will have a vesting period of 6 months, let's say, where as this grows and everyone earns more, let's say, more misangas, more beads, right? You after a period of 6 months, you can trade this misangas, these beads, to access the shared fund down, right? You can access to trade this for fiat money for what you need, right? And this is actually being done. It's not theoretical. We're putting this in practice. So, and people see values on it. So after a time, you can redeem all the value that you capture through being part of this IoT infrastructure through the city. You can redeem not only, let's say, redeem the transfer or redeem these beads, these misangas, right, in fiat money, but you can redeem in services for your business or in insums or in materials for the artists. So you establish a type of microeconomy that is very hyperlocal, but it's global because it's visible for anyone in the planet to be part of it. So you can incentivize it. So we're actually doing this, but not in the threefold, let's say, infrastructure or because the guy that is behind this is my friend Alan. He thought it would be more nice to build. We build our own experience of Web3 using the actual softwares and frameworks and middlewares that we have to do this. So actually, Atos that is here, he saw all the technological infrastructure, how we're doing this in practice, right, Atos?
Yes, that's right. And you talking as you're talking about Digibyte. Yes, Digibyte is a blockchain, and but there also has a lot of protocols, and this is the important thing. They There's a lot of other blockchains using Digibyte protocols, and actually there's even I think Ethereum had some problems about this mining difficult, you know, because mining is becoming difficult, more difficult when timing is when passing time, you know. And Digibyte has five different um, how am I supposed to say five different mining algorithms. And well, long story short, Digibyte offers a lot of protocols to other blockchains, and Digibyte it's a sleeping giant right now. You know, Digibyte is a sleeping giant, and there's a very good technology and very good blockchain. And yes, we can certainly using it. There's other options, but I think this one is very promising.
Yeah, actually, this initiative, this project, this endeavor is dormant too. Like TB seems to be dormant, but it's not because of not because it died out without interest, because the principal, let's say, initiator of it, that's Alan, is taking a sabbatical time for him. And this is something very interesting. Uh, folks, folks are very ingraining in CTV this aspect of understanding that if you're this differs a lot from the old framing, how you enterprise something, how you endeavor something, uh, always in a very productivity way. You have to work a lot, you have to put your guts, you have to work out yourself.
Mhm.
And interesting how folks that are related to the regenerative movement and the peer-to-peer, they understand that their health is their wealth too. So he's taking this sabbatical and okay, it's open source, it's decentralized, some artists are doing, right? But it still is in the embryonic phase of it, right? So, stages of it. So it still needs the energy of the initiator or the co-initiator to let's say to harvest, to sour it and to nurture it. So there, here you go about it. We're talking yesterday about infrastructures or structuring things. Well,
Mhm.
you still need in this transition folks that have the energy to and the discipline to nurture it and to sustain it, for others to capture it, to understand it, and make the move, right? And make the move to
Yeah.
decentralize and distribute it. So that's something that is very needed, even with our own wealth transfer initiative here, right? So
Yeah.
if you don't have the discipline to do this and to ingrain. Oh, by the way, we're towarding. We have more what 10 minutes, but we didn't talk here about the wormholes. Yes, and in the very concept of wormholes that TB put, put in the table in the last touchdown, and we, via Discord, right? Uh,
Mhm.
would be nice if we can, in this final moments, here comes Laurie, incredible. Okay. It would be in this final moments if we can touch upon how we can do this in practice. We just open the channel in both discords or only on Taudao's Discord to create this wormhole TV. How are you envisioning this? And be very welcome.
Something broke, right?
Something broke.
Well, I already started something, and we can build on. We can build together. You know, because there's many things that I do with other organizations, with various organizations, and it's a case by case thing, you know. But we can build on that and see if we could, I don't know, formalize something better. Yeah, because there could be bridges, formal bridges, that are more event-like regular gatherings, like we have with Wealth Transfer, which is an initiative that you, Vinicius, started, but it's something that also we put in place, and then it kind of became like a joint initiative. There is formal bridges at the communication tools level with Discord, which is the sort of a interbreeding that is emerging between Sensoricans and folks in Brazil. There is formal bridges that we have with other organizations at the level of the resources that we use, digital resources. So we share documents, we share clusters of documents, we share folders, so people get access to the to whatever organizations produce. And now I created a new page on Sensorica, which I called Ecosystem, and it's basically a list of other networks with links to where people can get in touch with the other people. So call them portals. So maybe I should share this with you and continue to think about it. What do you see, Vinicius?
Well,
how do you?
first of all, be very welcome, Laurie.
Hello.
At the top of the hour, the final moments here of the 12th touchdown, but it's always a pleasure, of course. We have here today Atos that you don't know, but you have the time to know him through the other touchdowns, and especially if we can make this wormhole happen, right? So. Because you see what I'm envisioning is that we need a blueprint for this. We need a blueprint that it where we can TB, let's say, nurture and expand it and grow it in between our endeavors, right? All the endeavors that we are correlated, all the projects, initiatives that we are related to, right? We have to create a type of in-between space, right? That can be even louder, a type of brave space, as you put, and where we can have all sorts of conversations, not only the conversations related to material things, to tangible things, or even to, let's say, monetary flows, or even if I'm putting fiat money or crypto money, but a space that we can gather, we can talk, and it could be in various formats. It can be via Zoom, it can be via Discord, but definitely it can't be via email, right? Because email is a very linear thing. It's a very one-dimensional thing. And we don't see ourselves, we don't interact in other manners, only we interact via our the typos of the typing that we do there, right? Like we're writing a letter to each other. This is a very 19th century thing. So it's okay for me. It's okay. It's rich too, but it doesn't capture all the dimensionalities and all the richnesses that we can actually perceive, and we can actually access in between us. So what I'm saying this because this is the main goal of the Wealth Transfer Initiative. We have to blueprint this, right? Because if we don't blueprint it, as said, not only Lawrence said this, like you said this, like everyone said this, we're already talking a lot, right? With folks all over the planet about this transitional times, but where's the walking? Where is the walking? Where is the thing that is in between us? We have to do the walking. We are not doing the walking. We're doing the walking with those that we have more proximity, right? We have former bridges, as TB puts. But man, this is still very close source. This is still very bubble driven, let's say. Where we have more, we're utilizing the old frameworks, the old way of thinking of this collapsing world that we still live in. So let's cheer up our anima, our explorers anima. Let's let's go in the woods, man. This woods. Let's make this happen. So that's it. Not being afraid of it. Of course, we have to be a little bit afraid, because in this case, being afraid means, you know, TB, to have some time to invest on it, right? Oh my God, all my time is consumed by my projects. See this first thing, my projects, my initiatives. Where's the space of this we space? Where's this in-between space that we can really have this wormholes? We can have this, we can have this stigmergy, this more natural and less, not only cognitive, but intuitive, but emotional, but very humanistic stigmergy happen between us, to see ourselves as an organism or a meta-organism, a lot of organisms, right? And I call this ecology of DAOs, right? This ecology of endeavors, initiatives, and projects that are very, let's say, decentralized. Not only decentralized, they mean to be decentralized, but not is not. You don't see this decentralization aspect of things that call themselves DAOs, right? Or even another acronym. So what I'm proposing here, my friends, is let's make this happen, because I'm already making it happen with a bunch of folks over TauDAO. I'm making it happen with Atus in Utopia. I'm making it happen in a lot of spaces. Why we can't make this happen, right? Why we can't make this happen? So that's my, I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you, TB. I'm teasing Lauren. I'm teasing Atus. I'm teasing everyone. So let's make this. How do you start doing this? I'll open the channel. That's it. I'll open the channel in TauDAO's environment, and that's it.
Yeah, so let me connect here to show you what I've done for now, but and then we can start experimenting. That's what it is, because like I said, we are like Sensorica is interfacing with other networks in different ways, okay, and that's circumstantial, but what I can also say is that we are in a sort of a period of exploration with other organizations too. So there might be something that will precipitate here as a common practice, okay, and some sort of a recipe that could be spread. Because this started with me always asking people, how can we build a formal bridge? How can we just go beyond this wonderful conversation and meeting and discovering that, wow, we could work together? How can we put something in place so that things happen on a regular basis? And what came up as a result was one thing here and another thing there, okay? But out of this exploration mode, you know, might come some synthesis at some point. Okay, so let me connect to this chat here because I was on my phone and I couldn't. I'm just gonna connect to my computer. So can you accept me? Let's see. Yeah, so Vinny, you need to accept me here on the. Is he there? Okay. Yeah. Okay, it's starting. Perfect. So let me close this now.
Yeah. Okay, you're doubled here. We'll have a TB double experience here.
Yes. So all right, so I'm gonna close this. Okay, so now I'm just on here. Okay, so you see, okay. So first of all, if I want to create something, a portal, okay, here I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, so we're just jamming, right? We're just jamming. If I want to share, okay, let me share my screen here. Not this, yes, this. Okay, so now you should be able to see the website. Okay. So by the way, Atos, if you want to find that project that I was talking about, it's just type ArtCoin in one word within the Sensorica website.
Okay.
Sensorica.co. Okay, so this is how you find it. Okay, so you see this page here, which explains the project. So I created something here for Sensoricans, which is called Ecosystem. Okay, and I put this picture to remind us about the idea of wormholes. Lauren, maybe you were not there when we were discussing about that, right? Wormhole is a feature in time space that allows you to travel from one part of the universe to another very fast without, yeah, it's like a shortcut in time space, okay? To jump from one side to another. So, so this, we can use this metaphor to think about networks. You know, you are in the Sensorica, on the Sensorica planet, let's say. How do you go to Tau Dao planet or Utopia planet, right? So if you come to the Sensorica planet, you can find a portal, okay, that exports you there. Boom, teleports you to that to the other planet. So this is like a sort of a. I created this page for Sensorica just to institutionalize this within our network, saying the structure is you have ventures and you have communities and you have ecosystem, okay? And the ecosystem tab, it's a sort of an environment within the Sensorica space here that allows you to connect to other organizations, right? And this is the beginning of this page, you know. Turn this into a better immediate ecosystem visualization and navigation tool. That is the goal, right? This is the to do here, okay? It's to create an ecosystem environment or subspace here that allows you to, it's like an airport, right? It's like the airport of City of Montreal. You know, it allows you to go to a portal and fly to another city, right? That's the type of thing, okay? That's the metaphor. So for now, it's just a list of links, okay? So for example, Holochain, we are interfacing a lot with Holochain community. And so I put the link here to the forum, okay?
And maybe if you go into this forum and search Sensorica, you're gonna find a lot of references, just to know that people are talking about Sensorica and that we're connected with this community, right? Yeah. So, and I put Chicolab here, but I don't know what to link to. I put TauDAO, or maybe I should put Utopia. I don't know. Another network with which we interface very regularly is Gosh. Okay. So again, I think the best way for people to, it's like, where do they land on Gosh Planet? You know, so the pointer goes to, again, their community chat, so, or forum. So if you search Sensorica, you're going to see references of Sensorica here, which tells you that we are present in this community. Something is going on between Sensorica and Gosh, right? So my question is, how do we connect with, I don't know, the umbrella organization, which is probably not TauDAO, but it's Utopia, right? So I should mark here Utopia. We go to ecosystem. Okay. About WeShare, we interface a lot with WeShare Montreal, and this is an organization for.
Why, Chibi, you put TauDAO out of there? Put TauDAO there, man. TauDAO is.
Oh yeah, isn't it Utopia? Is
Utopia? Utopia is another endeavor, and TauDAO is another. They are DAOs, but they are different DAOs, right? With different levels of decentralization and culture making.
Yeah, because I still don't have the. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. I still don't have. I haven't mapped the structure of the things you're involved in. You know, I thought that Utopia is the umbrella.
Yeah, no, Utopia is, let's say, Utopia has its own umbrella, and because everything, Sensorica has its own umbrella of things that has more proximity in terms of culture, in terms of mindset, in terms of what it's doing, open hardware, open software, I don't know. The hacker communities, the maker communities. Utopia is very related to the regenerative movement, but in this sense, TauDAO has its own, let's say, umbrella too, but it's not the conventional umbrella that we think of, right? It's very permeable, and this thing of being permeable is fascinating to me, because you don't have a very visible and let's say touchable how I say frontiers, right? The front is very stigmatic, is very synergic. So, but it's different. TauDAO's focus is to produce in a very regenerative manner, regenerative content, right? That's the main goal of TauDAO. But it touches all walks of life, right? So it's in the same time it's specific, but it's generative at large. So it's very interesting how these things can have conversation in between them, right? So that's why TauDAO is there, and I could add another one that is Tion, but it would be nice to talk in next week's touchdown about Tion. Tion is very related to mindfulness, to meditation, and it's its own organism too, its own DAO too. So, but let's start with TauDAO and Utopia. It would be nice.
So can I find TauDAO? What can I find? I
Well,
can find
TauDAO has a website, but it's outdated. And I will have you. I can invite you for TauDAO's Discord, right? As I can invite you for TauDAO's for Tion's Discord too, if you want.
Yeah, the idea of the portal, I think that, you know, it's not just for me as an individual, but for anybody that lands on Sensorica and operates within this space, to be able to go to the airport and teleport themselves, you know, to the other planet, so that they could potentially discover something. They can stay there for a while. They can immigrate there, you know, or come back if they want. But to have this flow established that is not dependent on me or you or anybody else, you know what I'm saying? That's sort of the concept of the bridge of the wormhole, is to establish that sort of flow that is independent of individuals, is formal, is there. And anybody who discovers that portal, you know, they could actually go through and or send something through.
But don't you put Taudal on, but you can put please Utopia too, because it's how I said, is a different experience, but it has proximity with Taudal, as
Yeah.
Taudal has proximity with Utopia.
Lauren,
Oh, and Taudal has proximity with Utopia via the OCAST experience, man. That's the thing. All the post-production of the OCAST experience is done by the folks that are related to Taudal.
okay, but is there something stable that I could link to here? So we share, you see, we share because they don't even have a mailing list and they don't have a website. So the way we interface with them is through their documents. Okay.
Yeah,
That's the thing that we share with.
I think that the Utopia has its own website, but it's going to pass for a huge transformation now. But if you want, I can share this with you.
Yeah.
Taudal has a website too, but it's really outdated. It needs to be updated. But if you want, I can pass for you too, because.
But let me say something here, Vinicius. So suppose that, okay, so you give me a link to a website, right? I can put a link to a website here, but people can find that on the internet. Okay, so when I go to WeShare, like this, and then I put information, activity, okay, I can immediately see what people are doing. Okay, so, oh, someone commented on the noise document. Okay, and that's very recently. It's Tuesday 11. Okay, Wednesday somebody worked on this, so I immediately have access to what's going on in real time. If I go to a website, I see a static picture of something, you know, it's a projection. It's a sort of a carefully branded, you know, message about something, you know, but I don't have access to the action. In your terminology, to use your terminology, Vinicius, is like the interaction is limited. You know, I'm just looking at something at a portrait, but I can't actually exchange. With WeShare, I can go here and actually open the document. Okay, and see these guys comment. So let's see what this guy has commented. So I'm engaging directly with a person. There you go. So comments open. I can engage directly with the person that produced that comment. Okay, so within a few clicks through that portal, I'm in an environment where I can interact with Fali. Okay, Renee Vossen, whatever. That's a new guy that joined Sensorica. I recognize his name, and we spoke briefly. But I can immediately jump and have a conversation with him, so I can have an interaction, right? Same thing if I go to, so I'm just demonstrating the concept. Same thing if I go to holochain, people click here. So they are at the airport, they see a portal, they click here. Well, they are transported in an environment where they have access to immediately engage with this community. So they can start a new topic, you know, and ask some questions, or maybe react to react to a discussion that Bob has started, you know. So I can reply to it, right? So you see the interaction is immediate, right? So as I'm landing, I take my plane and I land on Holochain planet, and I'm there and I can interact, right? It's not just looking at a website, being separated, like looking in a store through the glass, you know what I'm saying? And saying, oh, okay, so they sell clothing for men and shoes, but I cannot actually, how do you say, go into the store and do something, right? So I'm just watching through a screen, right? Through a window. So is there something that I connect to Taodao? Is that, can I